Okay. Your audio's on. Everything should be good. You got a little clicker. Just let me know if you need anything. I'm gonna bring back that stuff for you.
That's in all of that, but so that's exactly what it started.
Good deal.
Here. I'm sorry, we're all on. Where are we going?
So what part of Cincinnati, or Ohio, Cincinnati?
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
This is nice. Yeah. It's just beautiful vibe down here. Yeah.
I love Cincinnati area, of course, Burlington and Florence and all that area right close. Union,
Yeah.
all nice area.
What was your name?
My name's Tony.
Tony?
Yeah.
Nice, I'm Doug.
Doug, nice to meet you. Yeah, my brother lives in Warsaw, so they go to Florence area,
Okay.
Burlington area, Cincinnati, all the time.
Perfect. It's a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in Louisville last week and I didn't pull those drive time. So. Yeah. My mom's from Ashland, so
And that's a,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, a good friend of mine's wife is from Ashland, so.
Okay.
I will do that.
Perfect. Really? Really? Finding machine, yeah, it was all like bound, but then not functional, so I'm rocking Mary Kay.
You had said anything, you know, on your numbers.
Yeah, well, I saw a psychic a couple of weeks ago. She said I have strong feminine Pisces energy. So
Not sure what that means.
I wasn't either. I mean, I am a Pisces, so I just kind of went with it.
Yeah.
That's. Yep.
This is like too thick for it to staple whenever I was printing it, so. Ray gets loose papers. Thank you. So back there, she's good.
I'll go ahead and just get started. So this is usually an 8-hour course. I've condensed it down to 3 hours, and with everyone's permission, you know, I'm moving kind of fast. I'm going to be omitting some of the material, but nothing I promise you that is not critical to actually today's course. So, just a little bit about me. So I'm Doug. I am up in the Cincinnati office. I'm on a team on the Shabri group in Cincinnati. So let's set our Seven Hills office. So we have sold a little over 2 million in sales since the inception of our team. I love working with sellers. I'll preface with that. Last year we sold 283 listings. We're poised to probably push that somewhere in the 400 range this year. So very passionate about working with sellers and about teaching and working with sellers. Does anyone here like working with buyers?
Right now, I work with anybody.
You're a good company. Okay, yeah. Well, I asked that question because hi. Did she?
Yes, she went to print.
Did she? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So you know, I always like to ask that question: who likes working with buyers? Because as Tara mentioned, when we start working with listings and sellers, by proxy, you will generate more buyer leads. It's inevitable. So I'm of the volition that if we truly focus on listening and sellers, if you love working with buyers, that's great, because naturally by marketing and servicing of the listings, buyers will come to you. So we'll start with that. Just TCPA, do not call, obviously don't call, text, email anyone on the list. Commissions are negotiable. No fair housing violations. Yeah, so we are going to get started on page 9. So with introduction mindset models. So in this chapter, we're going to cover the mindset models, the 7-step seller service cycle. It's a long phrase, and then the ground rules. So the 7-step seller service cycle, that's pretty much what this whole course is about. We're creating a cycle that is repeatable, it's duplicable, so that it never ends. So that when you have a client, you can keep working that client, servicing them, getting referrals, and starting that process over and over again. So we're on page 10 now, and it starts with mindset and models that live with sellers. So it's just a brief, pretty much a success day. You walk into office, and all of your appointments went well, signed, you have listing appointments set up, you got closings. It says your motivation is even higher, so it's 10 to 2 closes that afternoon. That feeling of motivation and success propels you every day. So, well, just briefly, if I could take 1 or 2, why is everyone here today? What brought you here? Learn more? Okay, perfect. Yeah.
I'm a new agent.
New agent.
Working on the models, prospecting, getting my name out there. So, yeah, I think I've really I'm leaning into the seller, trying to get my first listing,
Yes.
seeing the priority of that.
Okay. Yeah. So learning more, focusing on the models, particularly getting listening, get your momentum started.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Anyone else?
I can piggyback off for him, I'm a new agent as well.
Okay.
And kind of how Tara was saying at the previous presentation, how fundamentals, like knowing the fundamentals will help you to succeed.
Yep.
And so I'm just trying to take advantage of what KW has to offer and build up my classes.
Okay. Perfect. I love that. Yeah, for fundamentals. Our top agent in our team, who's a listing specialist, so there you have it, sells anywhere from 75 to 90 homes a year. And all he does is obviously focus on listings, but the fundamentals, it's scripting, it's role play, it's dialogue, and it's mastering the 7 steps, 7 systems in that 7 cycle system. So yeah, those are all great reasons. So if we look to mindset and practices of top agents, so on page 11 now. And so Gary Keller, everyone familiar obviously with Gary Keller. Hopefully okay. So Gary says when you interview the very top people and ask them what their biggest challenge is, invariably they will tell you with mindset. Keeping it strong, focused, and positive amid the many challenges they encounter every day on the way to the top and staying there. Vast majority say that this is their top issue, not leads, the mindset. And so the 9, these are the 9 areas top listing agents commonly excel are in prioritizing and managing leads, knowing their sellers, the decision facilitators, the master conversations, hire a coach for accountability, know their numbers, use time efficiently and effectively, leverage technology, and then embrace the 6 personal perspectives. And that's of course also taught by KWU Win. So we're going to start covering these throughout the course today. And so here we have it. So I like how you mentioned, what was your name again? Evan. Yeah. So Evan, I like how you kind of mentioned working with models. So obviously Keller Williams, we're known for models and systems. And Gary Keller is very big on first implementing the models and then adding creativity. What he's found is that if we start adding too much creativity first, that model kind of becomes unstable. The model was lay the groundwork so that then you can add the creativity to do all the extra icing on the cake, so to speak. But until you have the foundation laid, which is the models, you're just kind of spinning this. So, has everyone read or anyone read a Millionaire Real Estate Agent?
Reading it.
Yeah, okay, read it, read it. The whole book's full of models, diagrams, pictures, so definitely that is a book I would more so read in a hard copy or, Kindle as opposed to audiobook because, it's a more visual representation. All right, so here is the pinwheel, basically the diagram of what we're gonna be working with today. So this cycle is the model that gets you to mastery. So by going through the 7 steps with each seller, you're able to be more efficient and get more done in less time. It will become second nature to do these 7 steps. So this service cycle represents knowing the basics, systematizing your business, getting better over time, and working towards mastery. So we're on page 14 right now. So the 7, the overview of the 7 steps. Number 1 is lead conversion. So that is the process of capturing, connecting, closing, and cultivating sellers. So this is about being fast, gathering information, pre-qualifying them as able, ready, and willing to sell, and setting the appointment. Number 2, we move on to pre-listing. So before the appointment is delivering a pre-listed package to your lead, following up to confirm the appointment, and remembering it's about the sellers and meeting their needs. And then number 3, this is kind of where the rubber meets the road. This is listing consultation. So that's when you're going to ask questions, listen thoroughly, and determine the seller's needs and wants. You'll cover the home selling process, your service standards, and get a signed contract. It's ultimately about earning the seller's business. Number 4, moving on to service and marketing. So the goal is to sell quickly and at a great price with the least amount of hassle. How many sellers have told us that they want it sold quickly at the top dollar? It's about the seller's experience as you get the property sold quickly. Then we'll move on to offers and negotiations. One of the most crucial services you provide your sellers is guidance on receiving and responding to an offer. That can be kind of a delicate process, especially if there are multiple offers, or you start to get lowball offers. We'll talk about that as well. Contract to close, number 6. It's bulletproofing your deals by thoroughly tracking and monitoring every phase of the inspection, title, and lending process, and leveraging command. And then number 7, post-close systems. So that's following up with well-chosen services and gifts. By doing that, you create clients for life, bringing you deals, referrals, and influence. And so we're going to talk a lot about mindset today. Real quick, because I think we do have some newer agents. So we've got some. How long has everyone been by? How long have you been licensed?
4 years.
24 years? Okay. Quite a while. You're newly licensed, newly-ish license over here. New.
Yeah, I'm new as well.
New, okay, perfect. So we've got a vet and some newer agents, which is great. So this on page 15, this checklist is basically as you start to get, I would say, more of the experience in your belt, some of these things will be more pertinent. So, for example, some of you or most, if not all of you, probably have not attended family reunion, maybe camp, if you're like brand new with them, because those are some events and seminars that, it's some investments, things of that nature. So I would just keep this handy. As you get more months and years of experience, and then you can start to tally like where you stand with your mindset. So this is a solid checklist to basically as you check these things off, you get more, I think, masterful and competent and working with sellers. So on page 16. So we're probably to shift this up a little bit. Because has anyone, and what was your name? I'm sorry. Sherry, right. Has anyone except Sherry been on this appointment?
I've
Okay, yeah. We'll probably have to pivot the material just a little bit because some of these questions are working off the assumption that you have on listing appointments or your numbers, which is fine. This will be great reference to the future when you start going on more and more listing appointments. So we'll skip page 16 for now. And I'm going to be mentioning like homework a lot, like throughout the series, just because, again, this is an 8-hour course. Repeat this is down to 3 hours. So I'll just be saying things like, earmarking or making a note. So just go back and you can reference this. So page 17, this chart here is just what kind of learner you want to be for today. So there's usually the prisoner, the vacationer, and the explorer. Ideally, you want all students, all participants to be in the explorer section. That is, you're curious, you're open-minded, you're cognizant of other participants' learning styles. So those type of learners are the ones who walk away out of class with the most. All right, so we're officially gonna get started with the immediate conversion. So we are on page 20. So, okay, this is, if there's anything that I've been taught, when it comes back to listing properties and sellers, is your conversion ratios. And that is, we have to track conversations to appointments set, to appointments met, you sign, put under contract, and then close. So we're tracking all of those conversions and percentages. So for example, in the middle of page 20, and again, when you start having more conversations with people, when you start going on more appointments, you'll be able to track historically those figures. You may not have all of the data right now. So for example, if we look at the middle of page 20, how many contacts do you make a week? And I took the liberty, I went in and I pre-filled this, so we can do the math together. So if you look at A, how many contacts did you make a week? I put 25. B, how many of those meet your definition of a lead? So when we say that, what does that mean? Well, it's someone who is able, ready, and willing to sell a home either now in 0 to 14 days, or all the way up to 60 days plus. So they are interested at some point, they've raised their hand, and they meet all that criteria to sell a property. So how many of those meet your definition of a lead? 5. C, how many of those leads become appointments? I put 4. And then D, how many appointments signed listing contracts? So how many of those appointments you went on actually said, what, let's do the work together? I put 3. So if we take those. Oops. I'm not brain as well, so I'm math and numbers and like. My dad trades stocks and my mom was like an art and history major, so I took after my mom, so I'm a little slow on the math sometimes. So if we're just following along with these conversions, right? And then we move down to your numbers, and it tells you how to calculate it. So you take B divided by A. So if we take 5 divided by 25, it's gonna be 0.2 or 20%. And if we take C divided by B, so if we take 4, right? Divided by 5, it's gonna be 0.8 or 80%. And then finally, number 3, calculate your appointments to listing contracts rate, D divided by C. So if we then take 3 divided by 4, so 75%. So what this tells us is that our appointments to listing contracts conversion, based on all of these numbers up here, 25 leads, or 25 conversations, 5 leads, 4 set appointments, and 3 signed. If we follow those numbers, that's going to lead to a 75% listing signed conversion ratio, which is actually good. So any questions kind of on that? The material kind of spells it out there. But you'll start to get more Well, listen, does everyone track their information? Like, does everyone have command or some sort of follow boss, however it may be, that you can track the conversations to? Okay,
Right, yeah.
okay, all your opportunities. Okay. Um,
Is there like a standard or like a, yeah, like 75 you said is a good percentage, but is there like standard for a successful realtor? Or what they would consider to be?
yeah, I mean, we, at the Shabri Group, I would say, I don't know what that exact metric is, 75% is pretty solid. You know, that is, if you go on 100, you know, listening appointments a year, you're signing 75, that's pretty good. For whatever reason, the other 25% don't convert. And there are some conditions more so than objections you'll find. I once had a seller say, like, Doug, I really like you, it's just, I read everything perfectly, just prefer to work with females. Well, that's, you know, that's something I respect, but I can't, you know, I can't combat that, so there's gonna be certain things, whether it's a personality mesh or maybe gender or just something you can't always overcome, but ideally what we're gonna do is create systems and dialogue and have everything in place that we limit those variables so that ideally, you know, when I go on a listing appointment, I'm bringing everything, pre-filled disclosures. You know, I'm planning to sign in that day because I hate coming back. You have to be totally honest. Okay, so lead conversion. So the goal for lead conversion is to get the appointment, get a referral, and build relationships. And as you, if you start to read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, or if you've read it, you'll be familiar with the leads, listings, leverage triangle. And so MREAs, or Millionaire Real Estate Agents, are seller listing lead generators first, marketers of those seller listings second, and buyer listing lead generators third. Any other order, and the odds of achieving millionaire sales numbers drops dramatically. So to succeed in real estate, you must have client leads. It's that simple. Until you have enough leads to meet or exceed the goals, there's no other issue. No matter if you're a doctor, lawyer, entrepreneur, everyone has their jobs, their chosen profession, and lead generation. We talked about that with Tara a little bit in our meeting. Okay, so pre-qualifying for a listing lead. So I touched on it briefly, but yeah, these are the three criteria that we look for, whether it's a seller or a buyer. But in a seller, able, willing, and ready. We want someone who's willing to take action now, so they're willing. We want someone who's able, they're financially able to complete the transaction now, and then ready and motivated to make strategic decisions now. Any one of those criteria that's not met, usually they're not capable of selling or buying, if we're talking about buyers. So we want to make sure that the leads we're talking fall in that category of meeting all three of those. And so avoiding pitfalls is not gauging the client's ability, readiness, and willingness correctly. Also, high motivation, like an unchangeable movie date, can trump other factors. So it's really about staying on top of the client, of the consumer. So we're on page 24 now. And so this is where we start to categorize A, B, and C seller leads. So our A leads, they are going to be the sellers who are ready to transact like yesterday to the next 2 weeks, so 2 weeks out. So for A leads who come in, you want to be ideally doing daily follow-up with them. So you may think, oh my gosh, that's way too much. So we get a lot of inbound lead sources, whether it's HomeLight, Glenbeck, our sign calls, Google My Business, our own IDX TV, which is CincinnatiRealEstateSearch.com. These consumers, it's like the shiny object syndrome. They're clicking on listings, different portals, you know, Coldwell Banker, yada yada. And all of their information, I hate to say it, we're not special, it's getting fed out to other agents as well. So when they say speed to lead is key, as cliche as that sounds, it's true. Because they don't remember what websites they registered on. They're hopping on to the next one. So your A leads truly you want to follow up with pretty relentlessly on a daily basis. Your B leads, these are gonna be the folks who are about 2 weeks to 2 months out. So you want to call them every 2 or 3 days to establish their motivation, their timeline, and then put them on a touch plan. And the C leads, those are the colder folks who are ready to transact for probably another 2+ months. So we want to definitely stay in front of them, put them in our database, and set them up on something like a 36 touch plan, which is with KWU Win's touch plan to keep in contact. So let's move on to page 25. Okay, so this is a lead conversion model. So it starts with first capturing the leads by getting their contact information. This is really the most important part, because if you have inaccurate or missing contact information, everything else is, I don't say it's arbitrary, but it's really difficult to work with that consumer. So we want to get their contact information first. Then number 2, connecting by establishing a relationship. And then 3 is to close them for an appointment and eventually to buying or selling real property. And number 4 is cultivating them to maintain and strengthen the relationship. Now, capture and connect, they can sometimes be used interchangeably. Like on a disc profile, right? Your ISC. If someone is more talkative, or they're more on the high I profile, like myself, you may be best served to first connect with them, build rapport, and then capture contact information. The flow just it just depends on the person, truly. Sometimes you can't be so forward, and just that may turn off the consumer. So it's kind of about feeling out the person and knowing who you're talking to. But ideally, this is the proper order. And the way I liken it to is, say you go to the doctor, there's usually a logical order for how they do things, right? They meet with you, ask you what's wrong, they kind of look at you, maybe do some tests, and then do the diagnosis, right? They're not going to just go in and say, yep, you've got a cold and then start doing all the tests and things like that. So I would say use this, kind of think of it as a logical prescription for your seller clients. On page 26, Gary Keller says, getting to the tune of first or second is what matters. This makes conversion more important than presentation. The competitive battle is almost single-handedly won simply by getting an appointment before someone else does. This kind of, when I spoke about the razor's edge, it's kind of just getting there first. I've won listings where I've just gotten in the door first, and I know on paper the better agent. Statistically, if they were to put my stats next to another agent in terms of median days on market, sales price, I probably would not stack up as high, but just because I got in the door first, I don't think it's in this presentation, but something like 86% of all sellers meet with the first agent, or sign with the first agent they meet with. So just get in the door and I'm gonna say fake it till you make it, but your shots are so much better if you're the first. So towards the bottom of page 26, successful lead conversion outcomes is getting an appointment, and then number 2, getting a referral. And then that, by proxy, always accomplishes the following, which will strengthen the relationship. Okay, so let's begin with capture. So capturing should always focus on getting enough information so that you can contact the prospective client. So it may sound just like, by the way, what's your fill in any missing information? If they called you probably have their phone number, but you can just confirm that, make sure you put their email, and of course the property address they're interested in selling. It may not always be the primary residence, right? It could be an investor, that's out of state owner. And we don't want to assume, we always want to come from curiosity and then confirm, verify. So the different opportunities with seller leads, there's a few. So the seller in residence, this is going to be the most common, right? This is going to be, your John Smith who calls and wants to make sure he wants to sell his home. So opportunities for that include winning the listing And then they may also plan to buy. So Tara kind of brought that up in the meeting. I mean, it sounds like she's got quite a few different opportunities in the pipeline. A job relocation seller, so this could be a seller moving to a new market, new location. And a relocation company may be involved, which can sometimes be tricky. They've got different packages and different conditions that need to be met, but it can be a great listing opportunity. So for that, opportunities usually winning the listing and becoming a listing agent for the relocation company. So you could be looking at, multi-transactional listings with this particular relocation company. And then referring the seller to an agent in the new location box, so getting a referral fee in a different market. And then investor seller, I have one of these in Cincinnati. This can come with investment property that has tenants, or in my case, we do fix and flips. So for every one we buy, it's also giving a listing in 3 to 4 months when we turn around and renovate it. So with investor sellers, just be a little aware, a lot of times they're more plugged into the market, if you will. So they know the market a little more than just a retail seller. They know their numbers, they're usually bottom line oriented, and they know what they want to achieve. So, if they come across as kind of like cold, they're just more so business minded. It's not as pressing as that. I work with one, and it's a blessing and a curse sometimes. Yep. So on page 28. So again, these are two capture techniques that work. So the first one at the top of the page, this is what's called the 3-3-3 technique. So it's essentially over 3 days, you are contacting the lead at 3 different times, in the morning, afternoon, and evening, with hopes to establishing, getting them on the phone and starting that capture process. And then 10 days of communication towards the bottom. So that's for 10 straight days, you're emailing your lead and seeking capture information about when they plan to sell, make an appointment, and give a referral. And yeah, number 1 and 2, as soon as the seller contacts you, immediately respond with an email or phone call, thanking them. And then sending them daily emails on home selling and special offers, like free appraisals for booking an appointment. Or whatever your value proposition is. Yeah.
For, so this is for techniques for once they are considered a lead, but like for like during lead generation, like what would you do for the steps for them to become a lead? Like what attributes for that? Our system.
Yeah, so are we, is it, so is it just to confirm, is the question during lead generation, what tactics are we using to contact sellers or to still follow up and get a lead into our system? Is that?
Yeah, like the follow-up, because like this is telling us exactly what to do once they are ready, willing, and able. But like, what do you do? What's the system that you would recommend for getting somebody to become ready, willing, and able, or like to find ready, willing, and able?
Yeah, I see. So yeah, that's the initial capture consultation, the phone call should help you put that lead into one of those 3 buckets that you'll then know how to communicate and follow up with. So if I call you and you are like, yeah, we're just not ready to sell, kids have to finish up school, yada yada, we're 6 months out. Well, I know that you are not an A or a B lead, you're a C, which is fine, because that helps me match up my energy and my outreach with your objectives. So if that's the case, I would put you in the C bucket, follow up with you probably monthly, and then if I set you up on like a monthly, news or CMA or earnings report for
Okay,
your neighborhood.
okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
That does
Okay.
make sense for like this, for that example, for C lead or a
Yeah.
C like person. So like in the millionaire, what is it?
Real estate agent?
Real estate.
Yeah.
Is there something that has that, for instance, for like a A and a B and a C, what you should do?
Yeah.
That you should follow.
I think, if I recall correctly, Gary will just say, it's really. Like, for example, it's similar to Command, we have what's called follow-up boss, that all of our leads are categorized under a certain stage. And if our inbound leads haven't been contacted yet, or we haven't updated the stage to, warm, medium, I'm sorry, warm, cold, or hot,
Mhm.
we know to just keep contacting them until we can properly categorize them. So really, it's just calls and follow up until we know exactly where they stand.
Okay,
And you can do that email, phone call, text message. Phone calls to be the best way because that's,
festival.
yeah. So honestly, just keep calling until you know where they stand
Okay,
and they can categorize them correctly.
okay.
So it's a great question. All right, so we're on page 29 right now. So now we're moving on to connect. So connecting with your seller lays the foundation for your working relationship. It's to build, the goal is to build trust and confidence. And you do that by exuding confidence in yourself and showing intent and professionalism by asking questions. And so a conversation starter suggestion might sound like, I'm a professional, my goal is to sell your house for the best price quickly with the least amount of trouble to you. Like your doctor or any other professional, I have to ask questions to understand your situation well enough that I can give you the best advice. It says right in the middle of the page, avoiding the pitfall. This is not asking questions to get to know the seller and becoming so overly confident that you lose the lead. So it can always want to be coming from curiosity into sellers. On page 30, connecting with the communication style. So in the middle of the page that we chart there, we have assertive, sociable, structured, and steady. This is anyone, when I see the disc profile, are people kind of familiar with what that entails? So this kind of looks like this profile, right? A high D, decisiveness, that kind of is more in line with assertive. Sociable, I, right? Those are your people who like to talk a lot, more social creatures. S, structured, and then C, the steady profile size. So on page 31, real quick, we can just go over some of these different scenarios. So I'll read what the customer says, and then I'll have maybe a volunteer respond with how which profile they might communicate with that customer. I've done quite a bit of detailed research already and talked to others in my neighborhood and already have a price in mind someone asked for. I'd like to see all the data you have on this neighborhood before I make a decision to work with you. So what kind of profile, what kind of communication style might that be that you can match and mirror?
Great structure. Yeah.
Structured, yeah, that's what I had too, absolutely. So things like knowing, they like to be right, they're detail oriented, they're accurate, they're thorough. Things of that nature. Good. Number 2, I don't have time for a bunch of phone calls and meetings. Tell me what you think the home should be priced at, and let's see if you can get this deal done.
Started.
Yep, assertive, so I had to. AKA my day. Customer number 3. I've lived here for 10 years and seen a lot of changes. Our neighbor now owns several houses in the neighborhood. We've got new neighbors this year. I really keep up with all the goings on in the neighborhood. So, yep, so should we. And then customers 4 and 5, we really need to get this house sold. I'm just not sure about the listing price.
Well, steady.
Yep, I have that as well. So I think it's really this page, what speaks to me is just knowing. And again, this is why I like the pre-qualification, we'll get to that shortly, but the pre-qualification on the phone and on the phone when we're talking about qualifying as lead is because sometimes we'll ask questions that, yes, I care about the answers to, but depending on how they answer, will very quickly let us know what kind of personality we're dealing with. So that when you go into the listing appointment, if it's a doctor or an engineer, right, they're probably going to be a little more on on the assertive and the structured side, right? They want to be right. They like ego, not to blanket statement, right? I mean, they're very proud of their accomplishments. They're detail oriented, and they just kind of want to get to the bottom of things. Whereas if maybe I'm meeting with an artist or a musician, someone like a more creative background, they might be a little more sociable and maybe steady, not to generalize, but you can kind of match and mirror and help close them in the way they want to be closed. On page 32. Well, page 32 and 33, so these go hand in hand, so what we're talking about here is the pre-listing lead sheet. So this is what I was just alluding to shortly, a little bit ago, so this is. We want to do the lead sheet because this will give us information that will help arm us when we go into the listing appointment. Things like it'll uncover things like the timeline. You know, the motivation, worst case, like what would happen if you didn't set up, right? What's the backup plan? And then things we'll need that we can help put together from what's called a net sheet. So, how much the proceeds would be should they walk away, after the sale of the home. So like we asked about mortgages and liens and encumbrances, things like that.
Would this be ran like in command? Or connect,
This, which,
like a lead sheet?
yeah, I know like 3 nights and obviously this course, the pre-listing lead sheet was available in the toolkit at the end of May. So, yeah, I put it in the manual, you can make some copies. And then KW Connect, which is how all of these courses are put together. You should be able to find them in there. But yeah, the lead sheets are just invaluable because, again, you're uncovering information and motivation of the seller, and as you're on the phone, you know what kind of personality you're dealing with. Page 34, close to appointment. Highly productive agents close quickly. The faster you close, the faster you get to the appointment. Creating urgency helps smooth the lead to an appointment. Use trial closes to probe for appointment opportunities to close to appointment as soon as possible. Did you find it?
33, but.
Oh, yes, yep. Yeah, so that's just one copy. So yeah, it'll be in the back, in the manual as well. So this is, we're gonna go ahead and skip through 34 and 35, but these are just scenarios or conversations, how they might pan out with, settlees who either call into the office or, you're doing it outbound, lead generation. So, I would urge all of you to, does anyone do scripting role playing?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's, so my boss here, right, when he used to sell 100 houses a year, he had 2 role playing partners, one in Cincinnati and one in a different market. And he was a listing specialist, so like all the scripting role playing was on seller objections. So when he would work expires and for by owners, all those different resources, canceled listings, all of the scripting dialogue would be around those topics. So for 30 minutes before, and sometimes an hour before he hopped on the phone and started calling, he would have 2 different partners and they would just go back and forth and give objections and no, I'm not gonna sell the house, I'm not interested, all the things. So that come 8 o'clock in the morning or whenever they start dialing, he was very familiar with all of that objections that he was going to hear. So we'll reference throughout this manual, I'll say, hey, like this might be homework, or I would strongly encourage you to at least internalize some of the dialogues, just because we don't have enough time today, unfortunately. But scripting role playing is a great way. And I always say, you don't want your clients to be guinea pig, right? That's why we scripting role play. We want to handle objections. Sellers, you're gonna have probably more tough conversations with buyers. Because with buyers, right, it's more, I'd say, emotional, it's like it's fun, it's been shot from their life. Sellers, they have a lot of emotion behind it. They're very bottom line oriented, right? They know what they think their house is worth. And it's up to us to be the fiduciary to like, you know, I understand that you want that, here's what I'm seeing, here's what the market is dictating. And so with sellers, it's usually tougher conversations because the sellers have all of these fears of, you know, the kids grew up or memories. They have an emotional tie to their home. And we need to detach them from that and present what the market is actually going to bring them. Which is supply, demand, price, presentation, absorption rate, all those things. So. Should be role play. Page 36, I will just hit on this briefly. So these are two different classic closes. For me and my personality type, I like number 6 the most. I'm not, you know, a very direct person. Well, I'm not a very, I guess, assertive person, and so for me, you know, something close is nice because, you know, I might say after Evan and I have a nice dialogue on the phone, I might say, you know, so Evan, it sounds like astrological stuff for us to get together. You know, it's tomorrow at 6 work or Thursday, you know, for you. It's, you know, it's future, it's setting up an expectation you're gonna meet and then giving you the option, but you're not just saying, I'm gonna be right over with the paperwork. So for me, that has served me well. You know, I would read through all of these and maybe again try, you know, role playing or scripting these out. If you want to write down, it's a great book. It's very short. It's written by Phil Jones. It's called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. And it can't be more than probably 100 pages, but it's, as it sounds, exactly what to say for real estate agents, with sellers, with buyers. And he's got a lot of different nuances and phrases in there too. You know, and his reasoning behind, you know, why something's closed his work. He first wrote exactly what to say and tailored it more specifically for real estate agents, so that's a good one. Page 37. So this just goes, you know, if there's, if a seller asks a question, or if it's more of an objection. So if it's a question, simply just answer it. But when an objection comes up, you just handle it. So if the client says, "What is your commission?" just answer the question. They might respond by asking you to reduce your commission or by saying, "Well, the other sales representatives are willing to do it for less than you are, and you're not." Then say, again, this is all over the phone. "What I hear you saying is that commission you pay is important to you. I'm so happy you brought that up. We'll cover that when we meet." Only handle objections when you can get a signature. Can't get a signature over the phone. So over the phone, either answer the question or tell them we'll cover that when we meet. And that's important because once you start, and I've been countless times, to start, it's like a downward spiral, right? Seller that got you in the palm, and when I get nervous, I talk like endlessly, and I don't know when to shut up. So with sellers, like that's when you'll hear, "Oh, we'll call you back," or "I'm heading into a meeting that lasts forever, you know, call you back." So I like that because questions, yes, answer, but then objections. That's a great, I'm glad you brought that up, Tony. That'll be one of the first things you talk about when we meet. It's hard for me to say one person.
Yeah, that was the main thing.
Yeah,
Otherwise, there'd be no point for us to be face to face.
100%.
There's no connection.
Yeah. Well, everyone can be kind of being on the phone, right? Yeah. Well, I guess you can be person, but it's harder, I would say.
I think sometimes. I can be like super personable in trying to like establish like a relationship with a client or a person, and then sometimes I forget the reason why I'm calling, you know, or like it's like the cues where I'm like, I can invite them or like introduce them going to a meeting, have a meeting or something like right now. Because it's like we're engaging in conversation, and then I'm like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how to like get the systems so embedded in my head that they like freely flow through like the conversation, because I can have a conversation, but every now and then I'll be like, shoot, you know, we've been on for 20 minutes and I still haven't said nothing about like. Really buying or selling,
Yeah.
come let's have a meeting and things like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Do the people you call and contact know you're in real estate?
Sometimes I can really talk to like a wall, so it really don't matter.
Yeah.
If they know, I got that part of introducing
Okay.
them, I'm a realtor, I'm in real estate and stuff, but
Okay.
just trying to establish the relationship, I tell like, I don't know, like, what do you do for work or housework going and things, and they get caught up, and I get caught up, and it's just like.
Yeah.
I don't even know if this is a good lead or A, B, or C lead, because we just like chatting it up, you know what I mean?
Is everyone familiar with what's called the Ford script? Yep. So the Ford script is family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And I only bring that up because I would say when in doubt, you can always like recalibrate and go back to that. So it made me feel nervous. People like to talk about themselves. So immediately if you're asking about, hey, how's the family? Or, how's the job going? Or maybe, it's May, like any plans, any travel coming up, or I won't ask them about their dreams, but any big goals this year. It shifts the spotlight off of you and then onto them. And you can just listen to them talk, and usually inevitably they'll reciprocate. What's your name again?
Shamari.
Shamari, and then inevitably they'll say, "Oh yeah, Shamari, how what have you got going on? And then you can just say, or they may even directly ask, "Well, how's real estate? Or how's?" So you just kind of shift the conversation back. If that makes sense. I like the Ford scripts or the framework. Cause yeah, I'll go on a tangent sometimes, and I need to be focused. Perfect. Okay, so page 38. And 79. So these are role playing activities. We're gonna go ahead and skip these just for time's sake. But these, I mean, 38 truly, I would page 38. Reference that lead sheet. So like if you're Evan calling your, I don't know if you were to call the seller lead or if you're looking for work listings. But yeah, that's a critical component, so you can start. At the charade group, we have 2 pages called pre-qual script, which basically has all the simple things, but that's gonna do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So by the time you do meet, you'll have a lot of information already prepared. So yeah, I would take some time and really dig into the lead sheets as you start saving my listings. So number 4, we're on page 41, which is cultivate, which is the last step. So if you were not able to close, you have made a connection, cultivate the prospect until they are ready for the appointment. You've got to fill your pipeline and stay in frequent contact, because you never know when a seller will say, "I'm ready." Top agents refer to this moment as the 0 moment of truth. It's the moment where your lead becomes an able, ready, and willing client. And stay in touch with a plan. So if the seller is not ready, able, and willing to sell now, record that information on the lead sheet. When you follow up, inquire about progress on the barriers to sell. And then in addition, ask for permission to send follow-up information. Doing so puts the seller in the mindset of looking forward to making the step toward purchase. Now, page 42, this is and again, as you'll do more of the activities, more of the conversations, you'll be able to historically track this with more accuracy, but this is just what a weekly activity track would look like. Okay, so we covered knowing your numbers, a little bit about lead generation, and then the lead conversion model. Before we move on to chapter 2, were there any ahas? Or is there any one thing that someone's gonna walk away with and make a meeting to implement?
I'm focusing purely on that one listing at the moment,
Yeah.
trying to get that listing.
Yeah.
It's an investor.
Okay,
I just found out this morning on the phone, lives in Colorado.
okay,
So yeah, actually, this has helped me think about next steps of if he needs hands off, probably, how can I keep in mind, it's me, I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I've been thinking.
Okay,
And I have a potential seller, which will probably be a seller buyer.
sure,
He's uncertain if he's ready.
okay,
He's looking to downsize, retiring, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
So, not gonna bombard him with calls, just stay in touch.
Yeah.
Nudge him a little bit along the way, cause he is a lifelong friend as well. Uh. So, it was amazing. I just put a little story on Facebook. Thanking people for their support in my real estate journey. Next thing you know, I'm getting a message, man.
yeah,
Asking for referrals, if you think about buying or selling, let me know, or if you got it, anybody else, just send me a referral.
Yep.
Next thing I know, I'm getting a text from him.
I love that. You can spend an unlimited amount of money in advertising, but like all of the business that you really do, it's in your contact list. I'm sure. Not to say you can't supplement that with whether it's Zillow, HomeLight, whatever, but truly, I think that solid foundation of business, it's it. Your SOI, as we call it, your sphere, people who know, like, trust you already.
Right.
And I was a lifelong friend who said,
Right.
well, heck yeah, who wouldn't want business with you? Right.
Hope so.
And that's the thing, we shouldn't also take for granted, like, you shouldn't assume just because, that's where ego starts to get a little like, I'm neighbor or my best friend. But we want to stay in front of them, right? Because all day we're just, our brains are getting inundated with advertising, media messages. And we may think that we talk about real estate a lot, but to the average consumer, it's, this is our life, but that's just a small, very small fraction of their life. So,
I definitely get blown up every day, all day.
oh yeah, healthcare, about span.
Oh, well, just real estate stuff in general, everything's an ad about
Yeah.
some type of real estate, how you can grow your business.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that, I mean, we all experience that, but if you can cut through that. If you not, I'm a realtor, I'm the idea of a realtor, but not. And. But I think is our, we're all the same.
That's a good point.
I think that's what people are gonna create as AI, as we become a little more connected, or less connected. People want Tony to check on them and see how they're doing, and all the things, they don't want just garbage ads all the time, yeah. Alright, so we are on chapter 2, so pre-listing. So in this chapter, we're gonna focus on your value proposition, your unique selling proposition. And we are on page 46. So the goals for this chapter is to build sellers' confidence in you, answer their questions and objections in advance of your presentation, and make the consultation experience smoother. Sherry left, I was gonna ask if she uses a pre-listing package. Essentially, the big picture, pre-listing package, it consists of 3 things. It's a package, a process, and a buy-in. And what it does is, it should greatly increase the odds of a successful appointment and working relationship. It also greatly reduces the odds of wasting the agent's time with unqualified leads. So it plays 2 critical roles. One is that it pre-sells. So the pre-listing materials are specifically designed to build sellers' confidence in you and to answer their questions and objections in advance of the presentation. And then number 2, most importantly, is saving time. A strong pre-listing package will make the consultation experience smoother and probably shorter than it otherwise would have been. Honestly, my listing consultations, they're about 2.5 hours. When I do the walkthrough, I do the listing presentation, the pricing strategy. I mean, it's a lot. But I don't leave any stone unturned, and I really don't want to come back for like, so I kind of get it all knocked out there. So when all of you start one the list appointments, I would just know it's okay if like you're pushing 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and you're still going, because with sellers, what I found is that you're getting all of the information and all the work, most of the work done on the front end with disclosures, with pricing, with marketing strategy. And then you hit the market, you start getting offers. With buyers, you know, you leads, you get into wants and needs. And all the action is when you start until you start looking at homes and then you go under contract. So it's kind of flip-flopped. So, and that's why we want to focus on listings, because I can work with 8 to 10 active listings at one time. Much more easier and manageable than 8 to 10 buyers who are wanting to drive all over the city, right? So, so that's on page 48 now. So a pre-listing package contents. So each piece of the information included should fulfill one of the following criteria. Will you review it in a listing consultation? Does it eliminate the need for it in a listing consultation? Or is it a primer for education you will give them at the listing consultation? So, and I can send you like a template if you like. Very briefly, my listing, pre-listing package, it's a template email. It's a short video from our CEO, but then it has our team stats, and I include 2 attachments, which is my bio and a 1-page PDF of similar stats. It's nothing too fancy, but what it does is that video, it sets expectations, timeline, and then what they can expect when they meet with me as their agent. So that 2-minute video and those attachments takes out a lot of like, what's gonna happen? And I'll tell them on the phone too, but I don't show up with a camera, with a for sale sign, with a lockbox, and get that. So that they can kind of feel more at ease, like, because how many people have you maybe talked to, like, the house isn't ready, or it's, you know, it's like, oh, surprise, you actually live there? Of course it's not ready. We know that, but they think we might be showing up with the camera and things, right? So, you know, I guess any advice I would give, should you use a pre-listing package, is, you know, some stats about Keller Williams, you know, your brokerage yourself, and then setting expectations. Because if someone especially has never sold a home, or maybe they haven't sold one in 10+ years, they may be totally unaware of what the process looks like. So we want to ease their minds on the front end, so that when they meet with us, you know, their guard is down. So on page 49, about price reductions. Clients may have inaccurate information about house prices in their neighborhood that might lead them to question your recommendation. Give the seller enough concrete information to make a rational pricing decision, yet withhold your final pricing recommendation until the listing consultation if possible. So you can include what this page is speaking to is essentially including the CMA in your pre-listing package. I'll get into it over the phone a little bit about what they think their house is worth, just to get a gauge like what I'm walking into. But in my pre-listing package, I save all of that for the kitchen table. Because I don't want them beating me up on the phone with a price, right? I'm not gonna go over with what I haven't even seen the property. I can't make an accurate discernment of what I think their house is gonna sell for. So again, if they start getting into pricing objections on the phone, I just say, tell me the great. You know, we're gonna talk about that when we meet. I haven't seen their home, unfortunately, I can't make an accurate analysis of how the sell just yet. Okay, so page 50. So we start with the value proposition. So your VP speaks to things you do for your sellers that satisfies their needs, adds value to their lives, and adds value to their transaction. So this is one of the things in our pre-listing package that's, so one of the things we can do that should be grouped is bring cash offers to people. So it sounds sexy, but it's because it's, you know, it's, oh my gosh, cash offer, but like really what that is, it's a MOFR, it's the offer for an immediate response. The cash offers we can bring, I mean, they're discounted, right? it's more of a convenience, it's more an option for a seller. But that is one thing we can wholeheartedly use, bring cash off of it. If it's the right thing to do, if it's the right move for the seller to make. So that's one of our value propositions. For our buyers, one of our value propositions is we have a like a video program. And that stipulates that, if I help Evan buy a house. Within 12 months after he's closed on it, for any reason, if he hates it, if he needs to relocate, I'll sell it on the listing side for free. No questions asked. So. What we do is we pride ourselves on helping our buyers find a house they love. So much so that if they need to move, within 12 months, we'll sell it for free. So that's our buyer side value proposition. Unique selling proposition, this is more so like personal traits and attributes by yourself as an agent. I don't focus too much on this one as much, just because the seller, the consumer, they really care about, what's in it for them. So I try to, again, spotlight analogy, I try to focus more so the attention, the services on what can benefit the seller. But, if my furnace goes out and it's 20 degrees, I really don't want I don't care if the technician's telling me the school wants to, and the accolade, it's like, please, hold me from freezing. So I'm more concerned about the services, how quickly they can get out there. What their fees are, what their diagnosis is, so. I personally focus more on the value proposition. So page 51, seller homework. I would imagine in Kentucky. Same with Ohio, you guys have disclosures, agency disclosures, lead-based paint, property disclosure, things that need to accompany. The exclusive right to sell listing contracts, the purchase contract, so. Many agents, they will include those disclosures to be mailed out. I think it's a great strategy. Jeff Glover, one of the top agents in the country, I know he's big on that, is, mailing out, that pre-listing package. What it does is, if Tony has all of the disclosures and all of the paperwork, and I asked him to fill it out, by the time we meet. If I show up and he's filled it out, it's kind of indicative, it's a good sign that, it's future facing and setting that expectation we're gonna work together. So that's, and plus it saves time, right? So. Mailing out the disclosures can be a great strategy as well. And then something special, a pre-listing package is also an opportunity to make yourself memorable, stand out from the competition. Does anyone have any ideas or suggestions what like a good, pre-listing memorable idea might be? I think one of our agents, will bring like a cute candle and said, and like a note that says, my goal is to like have your house sold before the rig. Burns. I forget I'm butchering the quote, but you get the idea. Yeah, just stuff like that. I mean, handwritten notes are always nice, a very nice touch. Coffee mugs, things like that. That makes sure.
That's for the pre-listing, meeting.
Yes, yep, yeah.
And that person who was mentioning that mails the paperwork out, they mail it out before the pre-listing.
Correct, yep, and actually on page 52. It'll go into the delivery of the pre-listing package. So, yeah, essentially, after you get off the phone, it's telling them all the things, right? In public speaking, there's a famous adage, it's tell them what you're gonna tell them what you told them. So when you get off the phone, you say, Shamari, I'm so glad we talked. As promised, by Tuesday, I'm gonna get you our pre-listing package dropped off in the mail. When you get dropped off, Shamari, so Phillips, Williams, just want to let you know, or courier or FedEx, let us know the package delivered. Yada yada. It's you can't over communicate. I think at all with sellers. And then it even has like some dialogue. So if you ever deliver, hey, Hello, Sally. I'm Doug with KWU Win, with Doug's office. Here's some information about the appointment stuff. We're doing above board fee stuff. Everyone's does. So just some dialogue if you work with the courier.
So the listing consult meeting is different than the pre-listing meeting.
Correct.
What differs?
So the pre-listing package or the process, that is to get the seller. It's they're basically making an introduction before you even meet with them. And you're getting them some of the, in this case, the market stats, your own stats, your value proposition disclosures. You're kind of setting the stage for that when you do meet with them. Because on the next page, you will actually get into the listing consultation.
Okay.
So yeah, pre-listing is just a preliminary. Again, mine is an email with a video with some stats and attachments that answers a lot of the questions on the front end. But other people like Jeff Glover does set out the whole shebang. So
So it's not necessarily in part, pre-listing can be any type of meeting. in
Yes.
person, paper, or
Yeah.
phone, whatever.
you can have something mailed to them,
Yeah.
you can deliver it, you can have a courier drop it off. In my case, you just, because we do a lot of scale of the charade group, we just email it. Yeah, so that by the time you do meet, like, they have some information about you, as well as for like the paperwork disclosures. So,
So they kind of already chosen to select you,
yeah,
because they kind of wouldn't come to a physical meeting without, if you already sent them the pre-listing unless they chosen to work with you.
yeah, yeah, it's a good way to feel them out,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so we covered the elements and benefits of the previous package. The value and meet some propositions. And yeah, the point is making the previous package memorable. So we're the thing, took like a 5 minute
Sure,
bathroom, but
yeah. I just want to share something with you. I don't want you to be offended, but I wasn't prepared to be here 3 hours, so
Yeah.
I'll be able to stay much longer.
yeah,
Right, I know you've driven a long way and I value your time and I appreciate you coming, but I'm not gonna be able to stay for 3 o'clock.
no, even when I talked to Madison, at first she was like, so is this an hour or 2? I'm like, it's really a 8 hour course, and I'm trying to keep this train moving, yeah. I trust I get it, that's why I very rarely do 6 to 8 hours, because that's hard,
Sure.
it's very hard, middle of the week. Yeah, I get it.
I mean, but I appreciate your time and everything. It's all been good and I will definitely be studying this, those things.
Yeah,
And I'll be right back.
yeah, I'm using this time.
Go ahead, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
This
Take it to the-
yeah.
That ice cream. I can't stay.
I'm ready to do that because.
I can't stay any longer. I've got to go. I have things to do. That sitting for this length of time heals my back, my head, everything. Doesn't here needs to go take some meds.
Yeah, your allergies.
Gosh, it's so bad.
Started last night and quick medicine and on my way here, I thought, I thought you know, that medicine actually worked and then I walked in here and I was like, no,
But it didn't work.
it didn't work.
I'm on the same, but.
Come back and tell me.
Everyone have a great weekend.
To switch it up, because I've been taking it forever, like, I need to practice. But it like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna.
Yeah, give me your conversation.
But I know the class, but I was also thinking like an hour, and then I have validation at 1:30.
You're
But
fine.
it was so awesome to meet you.
Yeah,
And thank you
absolutely.
for all the insightful
Of course.
questions. And I'm sure we will be around. Cause Phillips do things like, I know you had mentioned like the family reunion and things like
Make it
that.
camp, yep.
Yes,
Yep.
so I'm looking forward to getting more involved in like just different stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it's a blast.
Yeah, cause you're in the same region, right? You're
Ohio Valley Region. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah,
Well, yes, nice to meet you.
nice to meet you as well.
Nice to meet you as well.
What was your name?
Shamari.
Mark.
Yeah, Evan.
I'm John, I think I'm John.
Yeah, did
I
you-
did that.
Okay, I figured.
Yeah.
I was
We
like,
look alike.
yes.
Yeah, I thought about real estate
Mm.
when I graduated high school from 17.
Mm.
Didn't like it, and then he was maintenance, all grown, me and my brother growing up, and he's like, maybe I'll do it. He's
Ever since like,
exploded it,
yeah.
so, yeah.
so it was like really encouraging for you to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
Yeah. That's super exciting. And then you have him to like leverage.
Exactly, yeah, it's helped a lot, I mean, I will say it's a lot of the stress has been great, just, when you start out, I've luckily been able to breathe a little.
Yes.
Say, I'm not it.
Yeah. And he's so cool and so personal, so I'm sure you are the same.
Well, real estate, turns in that way.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I love it, so, no, it's been a good change for me.
Yay. Well, nice to meet you. I will see you around. Are you going to Red Day?
I have to be at the Bluegrass Realtor's office on
Okay.
Wednesday, but
I will.
I'll see you around.
Yes. And you too. Bye. Bye.
Nice to meet you, Sean.
You too.
Alright, so we're gonna move right on to the actual listing consultation. So we're gonna go over listing consultation and then the consultation follow-up. So we're on page 56. So on step 3 of the cycle. So the goal is to get a signed listing agreement, a win-win relationship, and handle any objections and to understand the next steps with the seller. So for the consultation, we want to make sure that it's about the seller, right? So we want to listen, we want to recognize closing opportunities. And these are recurrent themes throughout this chapter. So we're going to want to reinforce them. And that all starts with preparing yourself. So here's 5 strategies to prepare you for a great listing consultation. Number 1, review your conversation tips and materials. Number 2, understand the market. 3, use communication techniques that build rapport. 4, be a consultant, not just an agent. And 5 is to build an appointment toolkit. So on page 58 at the top. So as we look into number 1, reviewing your conversation tips and knowing materials. The most productive activity for listening success is practicing your conversation tips and materials. You must know what you're going to say and practice saying it at higher and higher levels of effectiveness. So this is kind of when I mentioned my boss Peter. I mean, like truly, he did it, and then our executive director James, scripting and role playing, and then our listing specialist Tyler. Now he scripted and role played. Like it will translate to your business, I think, very well when you start having conversations with sellers and you can overcome all of the common objections they give you, right? We're not ready, we're interviewing other agents. How much do you charge? All of those things. You just start, honestly, you become callous to it, but you just know what to expect, right? So you don't fumble the beat. Number 2, understanding the market. So these are metrics like inventory. How much is for sale and is it rising or falling? days on market or DOMs, as we've seen, how long is it taking properties to sell? Price per square foot, which is a good comparative indicator of prices when a group of properties has common qualities and features. And changes in the local landscape, so things like changes in major employers, shopping, schools, other services, in the community, as well as local laws impact housing. Number 3, at the top of page 59, using communication techniques that build rapport. So, most importantly, we always say active listening and using asking open questions. You know, not asking questions that would end in a yes or no, and not interrupting. As well as using responses. Oh no, or nodding your head as you listen at the right time. And then mirroring and matching. You know, so as a seller, they start to kind of lean in or sit a certain way, you know, also doing that, and being cognizant of their body posture, right? If they sit a square face or frown with their arms crossed, yeah, that's usually not a great sign. If that, usually when that happens, I try to get them up and like move around a little bit to calibrate their body language. And then they say something that is good or positive, or like that you like, you know, encourage, like, oh, that's a great point, and like, I'm glad you brought that up, or you make a really good point there, so that you're kind of encouraging and using positive reinforcement. And then being a consultant, number 4, not just an agent. So that's guiding clients toward productive outcomes by, you know, asking questions rather than telling them what they want to do. Helping them self-discover their decision. I like that one, especially when we get to pricing. You know, I'll never just say, we're gonna list the house at 300,000. In our pricing strategy, like we'll go over all the comps, the market activity, and I'll flip over all pictures, you know, and I'll say, you know, and based on kind of, you know, where we looked at the market and all of these comps, yours, where do you think we should list your home? Because if the agent says, you know, we're listing it and it doesn't sell, then I'm the bad guy. So we want to get the sellers to self-discover throughout the process. Setting expectations is an important part of educating your clients and establishing trust. And then seeking agreements to get aligned with the sellers is the foundation of service. And lastly, on top of page 60, number 5, building an appointment certificate. These could be things like business cards, lockbox, and yard sign. I really don't, other than all of the listing documents, paperwork. Because, so I should preface this, I'm on a team, and so we have certain vendors like a photographer, a courier, someone who handles the lockbox, the sale sign. Plus, when you meet with the seller, like, for the most part, they're not ready to sell, like, right there. So a lot of these things I don't personally bring, but yeah, things like business cards, maybe. You could bring a lockbox if, you know, in the next week or so, like they are getting be ready. But again, it's toolkit, I don't really use that much with me. Except the most important part, the paperwork. Number 61, we go to the consultation. So this is where you'll convince sellers to list with you. It's your opportunity to explain the reasons why they should hire you to list. We would consider the list price to recommend. This is where you'll create a great impression and build the seller's confidence in you as a real estate agent of choice to get their house sold. Share your pricing recommendation, the initial list price for the property, and then set expectations for how we will market the home for sellers. And this consists of 10 steps that we will go starting on page 62. So number 1 is confirming the appointment. Some agents, I don't know, I think they're afraid to confirm the appointment because they're like, oh, you know what, like, never mind, if they're not gonna want to sell with you or meet with you, they're not gonna meet with you, right? But yeah, just a nice, you know, text the morning of, like, hey, Evan, Phillips, KWU Win, just a reminder for our appointment tonight at 6 p.m. Super excited to meet with you. Let me know if you have any questions. Or you can call them, check on them. If you send them a pre-listing package, disclosures and paperwork, it's a great time to, kind of check in and see if they've done the homework as well. Number 2, adopt a yes mindset. Listing masters develop a personal routine, set in mind for success before stepping up to the door. They know that as they imagine their success becomes more assured. When going to listing a consultation appointment, masters will leave the results of yes. This is why I go to the consultations already with everything pre-filled as much as I can. It's not an ego thing, but it's like, I really don't want to come back, right? And usually after like hour or two, they're starting to get worn down. It's like, do you really want to repeat this with another agent? So I just go in with the volition that, we're gonna sign tonight and we're gonna agree to work together. So very, very rarely does that not, work out. So yeah, that's important, adopting a yes mindset. Number 3, top of page 63 is to ensure and tool. So arriving early, being courteous, yet purposeful. And waiting to enter until you've been invited in. And then take charge of the agenda and do so respectfully. I would also add to, especially some cultures, I always offer to take my shoes off. So I just wrote that down, but I think it's just best practice, you never know. So thank you for inviting me here to apply for the job of getting your home sold. So the nuanced example dialogue sends several powerful messages to the seller. Inviting places the consultation on a friendly, hospitable footing. Apply lets them know how serious you are about meeting their needs. Job lets them know that you will work for them, not just plunk a sign in the yard. And getting your home sold provides outcome framing, reminding the sellers of their ultimate goal. The top of page 64, the kitchen, tour, and the kitchen. So the kitchen is ideally the best place for a consultation because it's where sellers are most relaxed and friendly. So ask, do you mind if I set my feet down in the kitchen? Keep your walkthrough checklist in the toolkit and notepad with you and leave everything else by the table. At the end of the tour, you'll feel natural to return to the kitchen for the rest of the consultation. Highly productive listing agents prefer to tour the home without the sellers for the following reasons. Having the freedom to focus on the tour, preventing them from building up the home's value in their minds by telling you every detail they perceive as positive, controlling time in the agenda, impressing them by bringing up something you saw and showing your expertise at seeing the house with fresh eyes, and educating them on how the buyer will automatically see certain things that the homeowner no longer knows, such as cobwebs or things in the walls or doors. This helps to prepare them for their own condition and staging conversations later on. It's at first when you start doing these, it might be a little like awkward, but truly, when you walk through with sellers, like they're pointing out everything. Sometimes the false perception of upgrades or repairs that money they put into the house that don't necessarily correlate to a higher list price over time. So by you walking through, and I'll use that same language, I'll say, Evan, I'm just putting my things on here at the kitchen. If you don't mind, I have to take a tour of your house as if through the eyes of the buyer, so that I can look at things and see it from a non-biased view. And then I'll just be back in a couple minutes and, we can get started on the paperwork. Sound okay? And then I'll just do that and come back.
So do you just leave them there sitting?
Yeah.
It's like filling out paperwork, maybe like some disclosure.
Yeah, you can do that, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great idea. I usually just bang out everything at the same time, and I'm pretty fast, like when I go. But no, that's a great idea. If you haven't already delivered a pre-listing package, you could say, and promotion,
Jamie.
Jamie, Jamie, what I'm gonna do is just want things down here. I'm gonna take a quick tour of your home, just to see it through the eyes, of a new buyer. If it's okay with you, and they would know this from my previous email, I got the disclosures. If you just want to go ahead and get started on them, you know, by the time I get back, I might have one or two knocked out, but we can go over everything like that. Sound good? Yeah, so that's a great idea, Jim. And so what I'm looking through, for on a walkthrough, just, kind of the obvious stuff like any, missing, like paints, nasty carpet, spots on the floors that need to be touched up. I'm keeping a mental note of any like rooms that would need to be kind of rearranged or staged or just, how a room would show better or show well. That way, when I get back to the table and you start discussing, I'll keep all of that in mind as we're looking through the comps and. Ideally sellers are putting on like a continuum of comfort and price. And so if they want to maximize the price, they're gonna have to come down in comfort, right? Whether that means putting money into the house. Calling movers, junk, like, so. It'll help me know where they stand. If they say, if they drop something, we just want to sell as is, like. So they would be on the super comfortable side. That means ideally their price is getting lower. It's not gonna put the required work in to make the home present well, or as well as it should. So the top of page 65, begin the conversation. One of the three things will happen in this meeting. You will decide to list with me today, you'll decide not to list with me, or I will decide I'm going to take the listing. Honestly, I don't like that, I don't like that framework, I guess, is the right. I don't like. I've had sellers say, "Oh, I didn't even know I could interview that rate." Like, I don't want to create scenarios where it puts in their mind like, "Oh, he doesn't want to list with me," or we're not going to list with him. So, I may not skip that part. I would reframe that.
I think that it comes off as I'm not capable
Yes.
and you don't want to present that way.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a rephrasing of, I know I can do it. But at the end of this conversation, you will have the confidence in me that I can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, essentially. And I have turned down a listener or two before, but that was at the end, like, I did preface with that, but the guy was.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually my understanding. The personal aspect is why you may not take a list.
Right.
Correct, maybe it's not necessarily, oh, there's a lot of liens on the market that someone's gonna act, whatever.
Yeah.
It's more of, I don't wanna do business.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, the listening, I'm thinking of specifically, that was, we just said nothing. Yeah, we did not mesh. So I said, I forget his name, let's just say Jeff. I said, Jeff, I'd rather let you get down now than disappoint you later. I don't think we would be a good fit. I'm more than happy to get you mentioned. Refer you out to someone. Because yeah, it was totally a personality thing. Giving me PTSD. So as a KWU consultant, you're going to create a relationship of trust, confidence, and responsibility. Take the time to understand your wants and needs, recommend solutions that satisfy those wants and needs. Educate clients so they can make good business decisions, and tell clients what they need to hear, not just what they want to hear, which is super important as a listening agent. Number 5, uncover and prioritize needs. So we want to ask probing questions because that becomes critical to helping customers clarify their thinking. Help customers articulate their own expectations, respond to any surprises or issues immediately, meet them head on, and clarify their needs with follow-up questions. So the top of page 66, 3 questions deep. Number 1, ask, is there anything else you'd like me to know? Number 2, ask, why is that important to you? And then number three, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being highest, how important is that to you? So an example, 3 questions deep, where are you moving? How soon? Why is that important to you? What will that, I think it's what will that do for you? And what will that ultimately do for you? One of my favorite questions is, why is that important to you? That's kind of like a broad question that the consumer will then answer like hyper specifically. But the question in and of itself is a little on the broad side. But when you ask that, they just start opening up, and then you can really start digging deep into their needs analysis. I want to move by spring. Oh, great. I'm gonna tell me, like, what's important about that? So like, why is that important? And then we'll tell you. Again, coming from curiosity, we're not assuming. You might assume it's a school system issue, it's the last kid's graduate, like, but we don't know until we fully clarify that. So that's one of my favorite questions. Why is that important to you? And then needs versus wants at the bottom of page 66. Needs are the must-haves and wants are the like-to-haves. So we want to prioritize needs now on the top of page 67. This is important because inevitably, you know, we will need to go back to, usually it's a pain point, right? Like a seller would like to have above list price, short closing date, break terms, all the things. But it's our job to focus more so on the needs, like maybe we can't work all the terms, but we can give them a fair price and we can get their timeline, which is really important to them. Buyers, let's talk more important, let's talk more about buyers, right? They need to be in X school district, but it would be nice to have a basement. Like, we can kind of play around with some of those things. But it's the school system that they need to be in, like we can't overcome that. But it would be nice to have a fenced backyard. So yeah, for example, is a lower price acceptable if it means that the family can arrive at their new home on time? Prioritizing prepares you to guide the clients according to the most important needs. At the top of page 68 now. On to step number 6, which is checking for commitment. So checking for commitment is about making sure they're still with you or ready to close. Opportunities to close, given good pre-listing preparation, are seeded throughout a listing appointment. Trial closers are very important to the agencies for early opportunities to close by talking about them. Listen carefully for their yeses along the way. You may have the business midway through the presentation. That's when you pull out the listening agreement as soon as the sellers submit the something. So here's a dialogue suggestion you can build on to check on trial close at the step. Do you have any questions or concerns about the listing process? If the answer is no, then you can ask, are you ready to put me to work? Or more assertively, great, then let's sign the paperwork and get your house sold. So at the bottom of page 68, it just has a chart of positive and negative signs. Again, more so on the negative signs. They're maybe a little standoffish, body language is kind of put off. Asking questions, you may think that like, oh, that's like, but they're really just trying to get more information. And the more you can handle those questions, if there are questions or objections, and handle them, you get them closer to closing them. So I want to take, a battery of question asking is necessarily a bad thing. Hello. You're here for the class?
I am so sorry, I'm late, I had a meeting beforehand.
You're fine.
I can pass it for the extra.
Yes. We're on page 68. It was a little thick, so it was better to see where so you just can get that actually. Yeah. So some positive signs would be, I think, They're in agreement, they're nodding with you, their body language is overall, positive, they're liking what you're saying about your marketing strategy, your pricing strategy, so just kind of being cognizant of some of those things that come up. Number 7, handle objections. So objections are helpful, they mean that the sellers are more interested and are another step closer to a purchase decision. Also, the objection is highlighting your customer's needs. You now have the ability to understand these needs. So 4-step response to an objection in the middle of page 69. Number 1, be glad you're hearing it. Now you know their concern and you can demonstrate your expertise. Your positivity sends the message that you are an expert. Number 2, beginning with yes and, as in, yes, and I understand your concern. Or, yes, and I'm glad you asked about that, followed by a clarifying question on your expert response. Number 3 is to then ask for close. You just demonstrated value and alleviated concern. What better time to ask for the business? And finally, number 4, go back and find the places where you address that objection in the process. Ask yourself, what can I add or improve to lessen the number of times I hear the suggestion in the future? So number 70, that is, page 70. This is, we're going to, for time purposes, we're gonna skip this. This is another, it's an objection handler exercise. It's a script, it's a role play activity. But again, I would, with all the other scripting, role playing and activities we've gone over, I would encourage you to at least reference these, because you will come across seller objections. It never fails. So just at least, if not scripting role playing, being able to internalize them, just so that when they come up in the future. The top of page 71. We're on step number 8, which is to set and exceed expectations. So seeking agreement is asking instead of assuming. The goal is to set proper expectations so there's a partnership between you and sellers. You've made your complete presentation, listened to their needs and concerns, and you're ready to agree and get a contract signed. Which then means these will win-win. So this is where you watch for reactions from your customers as you get through the process of setting expectations. What feelings are you getting from them? Is there a connection? Do you feel or keep your relationship? Do you have rapport with each other? Can you meet their needs and expectations? So simply put, if the answer is yes, then you've got a win-win. If the answer is no, explore further by inquiring about their understanding and expectations. Always come from curiosity. You may have made assumptions or not addressed the concerns fully. And if the connection still doesn't feel right, do the next best thing and refer them to another agent. This prevents future frustration for you and the customers instead of what you like. The top of page 72, number 9, negotiate to resolve issues. So through your needs analysis, presentation, objection handling, most issues have been resolved, yet some issues may still be undetected. Share that you care and ask the seller to identify any unresolved issues. And finally, number 10 is to close. So this should naturally come up as part of the conversation. And you want to make sure that the sellers know they made the right decision to do business with you. So there's a few towards the bottom of page 72. Basically a few closing questions. I don't like the last one. Kind of going what you had said, Evan, like, I don't want to put any doubt in the seller's mind. So if I said, do you think I'm capable of doing the job? Like, my ego would be shattered if they said no, right? So I would probably just say, Mrs. Smith, are you ready to come to work? I would just do it for
I
you.
think they're similar. I think that one is more from their frame.
Yeah,
Are, as an agent, do I think they think I'm?
yeah.
I don't necessarily ask them that. But I wanna know, yes, they think.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's more of a fair question to you stuff. They.
Yeah, for sure. I just, you wanna, I think. Minimize or eliminate any variables or doubts in the seller's mind, let's begin, so. Yeah, does anyone have? Is there one of those motivations you might roll with?
Do you know, like, which one would you use?
Yeah, is there one that feels most natural, like a closing?
I haven't seen on the other one where it says, Mr. Smith, are you ready to get your house sold? I don't know, I feel like putting me to work makes me feel like they can, which, yes, I do work for them, but
Yeah.
they demand whatever, and I feel like.
That's fair.
There's, what is it, boundaries,
Sure,
so I don't want them to feel like, oh, I am working.
Yeah.
But I feel like, ready to sell your house or list it, sounds more natural.
yeah. No, I like
That's
that.
just me.
I think it's knowing your. Seller too, right? If someone is maybe more so. Let's just say like a blue collar position, that may resonate more with them, they may like that, like, oh. I'm gonna, you put to work. If it's a different profession or field or background, like, I think knowing the language of the seller. Who you're talking to can be helpful as well. Kind of when we talked about all the different assertive, steady, all the different communication styles. I think that can be helpful. Awesome, so on page 73, which is the consultation follow-up. And so this is where you won, you thank them and you start servicing. So, handwritten notes, that's becoming more and more prevalent. I think a lot of sellers really, or a lot of consumers in general, really like the thoughtfulness of a handwritten note. But digital is fine too, but handwritten's usually what's really good. You'll win the next one, so even if you do a great job, you don't always win. The sellers could change their minds about selling or hire a competitor. Whatever the reason, there's still opportunity for you. This will collect your thoughts on what happened and why it seems possible after you learn the decision. So I brought up an example earlier, I met with the seller and just unfortunately she preferred to work with a female agent. It's nothing I could have done, but it was good feedback and just because I would have been in an endless loop of like, well, what went wrong? Why didn't you hire me? And it's just getting better as an agent. Like they will give you feedback. We're too assertive, you want to serve enough. You want to experience, like they'll let you know so that in the future, if it's something you can fix.
Or vice versa, if they have a jealous wife, they don't wanna work with me.
Yeah. That's a good point, that's a good point, Jamie. If when you do work with sellers, like always, like if you guys are a couple, like always eye contact to both, making sure both are, involved in the process. Basically, running everything in a text message, both parties, whether you're a male or female, it's just. And again, you'll get personalities that just don't.
Yeah.
It'll still, your best efforts will still be in vain, but at least from fair housing and all the things, it will cover your butt. Have you had that happen to you?
No, but I was on a team for it, should be like, I know you wanna dress up pretty or whatever, but like, if sometimes you just, I'm not saying you're gonna go naked, but just. Think how you're gonna dress that day, that particular seller or whatever, just, be more modest. Not too pretty or whatever. But, yeah.
Okay, so Jen, you're like, so everyone else can feel comfortable.
During the,
Great. That's not smart, so you would say that.
it was the team lead.
Jesus, great. Ah. Wow. I mean, what professionals like,
It's so different than,
yeah, like we're dealing with people who are doing I mean, this is the most for the most part, the most important, largest financial decision of their life, like. You wanna look nice, you know, professional, pretty or handsome, however you wanna say it, but this is super important. I think that's. Oh, wow, yeah, you're gonna get personality types. And then defer or postpone listing, so deciding on follow-up. So you may meet with them and the sellers and maybe decide now is not the right time. Still keep in touch with them, you know, don't. I think sometimes our ego gets in the way, like, oh, this person isn't ready to work with me, you just kind of like cut them off. That person can still obviously refer to you, or, and I've seen it happen time and time again, like. They all of a sudden make their timeline up like that, say they're 6 months out, but they see. Say Evanston's not ready to sell. If you see a house you love, like all of a sudden you have motivation, like you're ready to list next week, so. I always cut in half the timeline, so if Evan says he's ready to sell in 6 months, I'm gonna follow up. Probably 2 to 3 months, just to keep tabs on.
When you go to the listing interview, would you rather be the agent that they interview first or last? So I can hear these things.
Yeah, what is that cliche thing, like, you wanna be the first husband, the second something, the third deals, it is something really weird. I like it the first, just because. I don't know, I feel more anxious about saying third. I'm on a team and I leverage our team stats, like, we have over 1,900 5-star reviews. We sold 613 houses in 2025, I really say like. I almost make it like, if you don't list with us, like. I say we sell like 46 times the amount of homes on average Cincinnati agent sells, so like. And a lot of that's in my pre-listing video or my documents, so. And I'll offer to. I've never had to do it, but I'll offer, say I'm meeting with you, you're the seller. I'll say, you know, Jamie, if you'd like, I can call the other agents and you can tell them, you know, you and I agree to work together, and if they have a buyer, they can come. You know, as a joke, but. I prefer to be first, yeah. Because again, remember the stat, what is it, 80, I can look it up, but it's over 80% of sellers agree to sign and work with the first agent. So. I think by age 2 or 3, they're kind of like. Yeah. Plus, I think we do a robust, such a robust job on our listing consult that. Okay, I'm first, say if you want to interview another agent or two. Again, it's not ego or pride, but. I know we have such a great listening consultation. And I've seen some other ones, like. You know,
Yeah, if the sellers aren't seeing yours,
yeah,
they see maybe a lesser, where yours is lesser than that first one.
yeah. Yep, absolutely. So, yeah. Specs. Any ahas or takeaways before we move on to chapter 4? Making great time too, which is awesome. Okay, so we are going to cover service and marketing here. Let's go on page 76 now. So the goal, really the goals for service and marketing is going to be to market the home to potential buyers, sell within a specific time frame, and price the homes competitively. So what's the big picture? Well, virtually every top producing agent we have ever worked with has a deep and almost inherent sense of service. They have a servant's heart, place their buyers or sellers' real estate experience above all else. They are always thinking service. So when we talk about service, Gary Keller goes into the 3 levels of service. So he starts with purpose, and then goes into value proposition and fiduciary. So number 1, purpose. He says that agents that demonstrate a mastery of service have a clear understanding of why they should be hired, and you can articulate it to anyone at any time. Great service begins with a clear purpose of why someone should work with you. Remember your unique selling proposition. On page 78, value proposition number 2. The very best real estate agents are able to translate this purpose and the reason people should hire them into a specific set of services they will provide. The value proposition lays out in detail the services sellers will receive. So again, for us on the selling side, we can bring cash offers to sellers. I also leverage that since we're the largest team in the Ohio Valley region, I say, Gene, what we can do is we can actually pre-market the home to agents, the Shrewd Group, the #1 seed in the Ohio Valley region, as well as our brokerage, Keller Williams and Seven Hills, so that we can potentially find you a buyer off market and do some pre-marketing exposure, or we can go on with it. So those are a couple of our seller side value propositions. And then fiduciary number 3. Highly productive agents have a level of service they provide that goes beyond their own purpose and value proposition. It's the commitment they make to their clients that act as the true fiduciary, to place their seller's interests ahead of the interests of all others in the room. And what sellers want most? So NAR, National Association of Realtors, they do a study every year. These really don't ever change. I mean, the percentages may like deviate a little bit from year to year, but for the most part, they want the listing agents to market the home to potential buyers, sell the home within a specific time frame, price the home competitively, and then find a buyer for the home. That's really what all they want. So these are the promises you make in your value prop. The 3 levels of service wrapped around these top 4 tasks. This is true whether you work solo or a team. So on page 79, a standard is a yardstick of your performance, and like a yardstick, it is a measure of how well you're performing. So communication standards. Communication is a factor that customers will be quick to judge. They seldom feel they get too much communication. In fact, one of the most common complaints is that they're not getting enough. Proper and timely communication allows you to do the following: provide a strong foundation for a sustaining relationship, set and manage expectations proactively throughout the transaction, create peace of mind for your customers, demonstrate professionalism to enhance your credibility. Share your standards and timelines so your customers know what one thing is going to happen. We, when I close out the listing appointment, I leave behind what's called the next steps document, which outlines from today until they go on the market, and then on the market what will happen. So it outlines everything from our listing coordinator reaching out, sending out photography, to doing room measurements. And then I will check in every week with them. We do a seller service update, so it's called. So on every Monday, we just do an update, showings from the weekend, open house activity, market activity, like new listings at the market, if any active ones pending, and then if any pendings with the sold, so we can kind of stack up, so the data. But it's all about letting them know when we're going to contact them, what's going to happen next, with frequency. Page 80, so this, when it goes over customer experience standards, I guess the only thing I'll say about this is if you start to delegate certain tasks, or you have a transaction coordinator, a listing coordinator, basically you want an operations department who works with and under you, just having them up to the same standards that you operate, because anyone that works with you is essentially an extension of you. So that's this page, just page 80 and then page 81. These pages just, to me, show that they're an extension of your services, right? You want your transaction coordinator, should you choose to have them, to have the same professional courtesy, attention to detail, and service that you have. And if like you get to the point where you start becoming so busy with hire a showing assistant or a buyer's agent or a showing partner, you want them to also have all of those, embody those same things that you have. And as you know in real estate, so that's the goal, is to get to the 7th level, where you're out of production. You've got, you know, director of ops, you've got buyers agents, some specialists, the manager, executives, all of those roles that have the same level of standard that you operate in. Page 82, problem resolution. This is just some guidelines for problem solving. I don't know all of them, but it's basically, again, coming from curiosity, getting to the facts, not becoming emotional. And once you have the agreement, move fast to solve. Page 83, now we actually start to get into marketing, which is the more fun part. If you focus on marketing your seller listings, the buyers will come. That's why I asked at the beginning of the class if you know how it's working with buyers. Well, that's great. I would still focus on listings because as we market our listings, the 14-point marketing plan, buyers should have inevitably generated from those activities. Research shows that if your lead generation program consistently delivers seller listings, you can count on the marketing of those seller listings to deliver buyer leads, pulled directly from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Page 84. Marketing consists of 5 parts, which is a marketing plan, number 1. Number 2, marketing message methods. 3 is managing a marketing budget. 4, staging, and 5, pricing. I won't go into all the 14 for the 14 set marketing plan for listings. However, I circled number 1 and 14. And I circled them because if you don't do anything else from this list, price a home strategically is the most important. I mean, if you don't price a home strategically, like everything else is just, I don't want to say it's not worth it, but so many of your problems will be solved with a home if you can control how well it shows. So getting the seller to do updates or present it well, and price it competitively. Like that surely will bring in more inquiries. It'll get you ideally multiple offers, more traction on the home. Should you choose to do open houses, it should garner more traffic through open houses. So if anything, out of these 14 points, number 1 is pricing strategically. And then I circle number 14 because again, we are on Monday seller service updates. And it's keeping the sellers in the loop. The last thing you want is in part of our listing consultation, we future pace them so that if we have 10+ showings and no offers, we know we're overpriced and we need to do a price adjustment of at least 5%. And we set that in their minds so that, you know, come Monday when we're doing our seller updates, you know, we don't want to slap sellers in the face with, hey, we need to drop the price. They know based on our discussion during the listing console, like, and what was your name? I'm sorry. Isabella. Hey, Isabella, just doing our money update. You know, since we've been live the last 8 days or so, looks like we're about 7 showings, which is a little less than I would like to see with where we're at in the market. If you remember during our console, I do think that we should implement a 5% price reduction so that we can immediately pick up traction with the home seller. Now, if you're not going to do 5%, at least get the home into like a new bracket. So say your price is $315 and they don't want to do a full 5% adjustment, which would be under 300,000, or it should be, at least get them to a new bracket like 300,000, right? Because buyers, consumers ideally shop in brackets or increments, 250, 350. You don't want to be a weird like 305, 9 or something, I think. So yeah, those weekly calls are really important. Because you don't want your sellers to chase you down, what's going on with my house? Page 85, number 2, message and method. So the message is what you say, and the method is where you say it. So it should be the message should be interesting and distinctive. Make your listing stand out so it generates interest and attracts buyers. So things like the internet, custom web pages, social networking. The message you put out to attract prospective buyers and sellers is everything. Why would they want to contact you in this market? What would they get if they did? These 2 questions are at the heart of all effective messaging. What are some other creative, exciting, effective messages? Methods and marketing listings.
Sorry, I didn't agree.
Oh, you're fine. It's just any suggestions or ideas for creative marketing listings that you've done or you've seen people do?
Creative ways to get like buyers to wanna check the house out.
Yeah. So
I mean,
basic to market the listing,
I
yeah.
mean, I've seen people do like, food trucks at the open house,
Yeah.
that's gonna be.
Yes, yeah,
Gift cards, to come to the open house.
Yep.
I've seen them list on Facebook Market, but I feel like there's some mix of
Sure.
opinions on that.
I like the gift card for your house because people like things, people like money. And in order to get that, they need these, because how many of us have held an open house and like garbage sign and info is reported, right? Well, if someone like wants a gift card, they need to provide accurate lead and for the context information. So I do like that. I have seen the food trucks done at more maybe like pricier, yeah, higher end, maybe luxury price points. Growth, yeah. Video, I think is now the new. We've seen a lot of video. That's almost. I don't want to say non-negotiable, but I mean videos.
It's almost there.
It's everywhere. Before it was floor plans, now. Floor plans are pretty much on every city. Yeah,
I've seen where it's like coming soon, guess the price, and then you'll.
yeah,
get a gift card.
that's creative, yeah. And just all kinds of like weird viral videos. So man,
Yeah.
The ideas are this. Yeah. Page 86, we'll start to get into managing a marketing budget. So what I would just say for this is giving it enough time to track. And what I mean by that is, so I farm my neighborhood and I do that through postcards. Well, we know when geographical farming to produce a return, it takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months. So I'm not gonna stop that campaign after 3 months, like, no one's called me, right? Knowing that particular lead generation style typically takes 12 to 18 months to producing the results. And you could look up different lead generation strategies and typically one we expect, to see returns, but this page to me just, says, setting a budget, but then also giving you enough time to produce results, whatever marketing form you should choose to invest in, whether it's, videos, Facebook ad, campaigns, custom, Facebook custom pages, things of that nature. 87, we start seeing staging on the floor. So the goals of staging is to present the best space of the home, maximize the spaciousness of the home, and allow visiting buyers to envision themselves in the home instead of seeing the seller at every turn. So I found the bottom portion of this page kind of interesting. What I took from this information is that essentially 76% of all agents report an increase anywhere from 1 to 15% of an increase on offer. Like 36% report a 1 to 5, 20% report 6 to 10, and then 10% of agents report 11 to 50% increase. So I looked at the median sales price in Lexington, which is about, that's not about it. So even a 1% increase in offer is $3,500. I don't know what station is down here. Up in Cincinnati, and again, depends on the stager, depends on how much staging. But I think it's about the guy, my investor who he uses is about $1,500 or $2,000. You know, I think it's worth it, especially in this market. Now, in 2021 or 2022, I mean, stuff was just flying off the shelves. But I'm seeing a lot of more inventory in Cincinnati where I'm from. Buyers are a little more picky. Interest rates are come up a little bit, so like we're in a market that's a lot different than it was a few years ago. So to me, staging is a non-negotiable because when we're listing agents, we're relying on the buyer's agents to help sell a house. And if the buyers can't envision the space and what it would look like from their agents, it's almost like a lost sale, right? I feel like most of the time for us as listing agents is getting the agent on the other side to sell, the home, and envision what it would look like. I had feedback from a buyer's agent the other day, I'm like, hey, Doug Phillips, Kelly Williams, just following up on Bridalwood. Was there any questions, feedback, plans for an offer that I could take the seller? And they said, oh, they don't want to be in a cul-de-sac. Like, I'm hearing garbage feedback lately. Plus, it's like, do you not look geographically at where the home is positioned? So, what were you say, Jamie? I'm sorry.
No, just like the whole thing. I went and showed a house the other day, but it was. I don't think it was just market ready. The stove was greasy, there's dog hair
Yeah.
on top of the stove. And it just did not look appealing.
Sure.
I mean, I know you can clean it up, but I feel like it should be a first impression kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. When I say crazy, see these houses that I'm listing, staged, they're updated, so it's like. The presentation is there. I'm just getting the weirdest feedback. Agents.
Would you say these are newer agents?
No, some of them are,
Veterans?
they were paid on a Louisiana purchase. And they'll let you know too.
Okay.
It's in a shifting market, the whole shift is great. Gary Keller, Jay Patterson, you look to it. You truly have to find the urgent and motivated. And right now, buyers, what I'm seeing, just not as motivated. I'm getting a lot of, we're gonna explore other areas. We're gonna wait to see the pricing, like 2, 3, 4 years ago, there would have been 6 offers on the house already. So it's making sure it's just the only 2 levers that you can pull are pricing and presentation. And if the presentation is there, the sellers don't want to hear it, then you gotta pull that price. Yeah. But that's why we're better than vibe switches.
Yeah.
Page 88, this just speaks to the nuances of actually staging in a home where the kind of the order of importance. So yeah, living room, followed by the kitchen, primary bedroom, the dining room, and then the primary bathroom. And that kind of goes hand in hand with where we stage, so that makes sense. Page 89 has some staging objections. So I don't see why this is so important. I would answer that with, if you want to sell faster or for more money than your competing sellers, then we need to stand out in terms of competition. Do we really have to make this repair? We can sell it just the way it is, but it's likely to take longer and you probably won't get as much money. My recommendation is to have the repairs so that you can get the best price possible in the shortest amount of time. The choice is yours. What would you like to do? Make the repair or take longer to sell?
Would you recommend doing, going ahead and recommend them to do like a seller's concession? Or would you rather them like fix it?
I would prefer them to fix it because, yes, seller concession is nice. But it's never enough to about, like, I don't know, say you're offering $3,000 profit allowance. Of course, the buyer's to take at least 6,000, like. So by you, I think preemptively addressing the issue, you can control the cost, similar to like a pre-listing inspection, which,
Send you off.
yeah,
Sections.
yeah, you can make that part of, your value proposition, you know, it's, if you like, or not even value proposition, just recommend as an advisor for them to get with this inspection. It's kind of a mixed bag, it's like, does the seller wanna know? And then we'll have to disclose everything and then not fix what they don't wanna fix. But at the same time, it can create some leverage by having the buyers and their agents know in front of me what is adverse to the property and a list of updates the seller has done to combat any of those effects. So I always try to control. You know, like say there's a. Let's see this one. Yeah, cosmetics, right? I mean. Because when you present the home in its best light. That's gonna help secure the top dollar, but like in your case, right, if that seller would have cleaned the stove. Would have, you know, made it look more tidy, you say, you know, would have been more. It was letting offer, or what are other things that they don't allow?
I mean, it really was just like a full repeat at my job.
Okay, yeah.
In general,
So do you think as the buyer's agent, if they would have done a better job of presentation, correcting some of those deficiencies? The home would have presented well, and probably got some. We can offer it to.
I would say so, just because it looks like kindergarten living and paid in the house, so it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't in a bad price range, so I was just.
Yeah.
Why?
And this,
But,
yeah,
You know,
in this market, it's a turn off, if homes aren't. Like, really just turnkey, ready to go. I'm seeing this on renovated stage properties, like, it's just so picky.
and she said it was move-in ready, and I'm like, I don't believe it's move-in ready, and she hit me with, it's got a nice shed, I'm like, we're not gonna live in a shed, you know? Yeah, and she hit me with, she's like, well, it has a nice shed, and I was just like, alright,
We're done.
yeah.
Why can't we sell the house as is? Here we go. Would you prefer to pay a few $100s to paint a room? Or do you prefer to deduct $500 to $1,500, I'm sorry, $500 to $1,000 from the sales price? Since buyers use outstanding repairs to negotiate a lower price, it's usually in your best interest to make repairs rather than have to negotiate with the buyer. Because they're gonna bring their dad to the showing or the inspection, oh, you know. This whole thing needs to be, we've all been there. Page 90. So this, as all of you start to take more listings, so we get to the kind of page of the middle of page 90. You know, you'll start to build up historical data for things like the costs of marketing the property, staff time, should you have them travel, your time. Your reputation is kind of hard to quantify, but you know, insurance can be. What's your reputation with? So that. You know, say you take listings and you don't get sold, whether it's. You know, you buy a listing, so you say. Say you know the house is $400,000, but the seller wants $450, you take it, knowing that. It's probably not gonna sell.
Okay.
Well, that's your innovation.
Well, I feel like then at least, you know, if you can't sell it, then you're the agent that looks like they can't Cause you took it from.
You say, yeah, all those line items, plus you're out money for photography, you're out money for.
I've made my clients, sorry, signing, I don't know what it's called, but you know, if it doesn't sell at no fault to me, your agreements. Doesn't.
Yeah, that's smart. We gotta make a waiver or yeah, that's smart, yeah. So yeah, I would just keep this in mind for when. You start to make more and more listings, but you can be cognizant of, say, listing that didn't sell, you track, okay, how much did this cost me? And number 5, pricing on page 91. It's a process. Learning to do it well requires knowing pricing strategies based on the principles that drive markets. Also requires knowing pricing tactics, building and presenting a paired market analysis or CMA, and the conversations that go with it. So number 1, you need to know what sells. To get a home sold for the most amount of money in the least amount of time, it must be priced what's called in the market. Which there are 2 determining factors, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, price and condition. Competitively priced properties must present in the best possible condition, outside and inside them. So you can't, buyer's first impressions, the front, the landscape, you can't have that looking all sloppy. Knowing what the seller and you can control and pursue. Pricing the sell is based on understanding what is selling. Use the simple dialogue below. So Isabella, some of the things you can control during the selling process are the condition of your property, the availability of your home for showings, and your positioning in the market. In the end, value is determined solely by what buyers are paying in today's market, based on comparing your home to others currently on the market for sale. I don't determine value, and neither do you. The market determines value. Does that make sense?
Just say compare what's on the market currently.
Yeah.
So I'm confused about that. It's just it's something that I'm currently dealing with, because I feel like, yes, you can compare, but what if they are overpriced as well? So therefore it's hard to compare. And then you list at an overpriced as well. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think, well, if they're, well, and that's where. That is where I think looking at. Days on market is also, because if they're 100 days on the market and they're still at, or they've dropped the price, whatever. They're at 350. Or whatever price. To me, days on market is critical. I mean, in Cincinnati, the median days on market in March was 8 days. So when I see homes that, I'm going to the association, I see homes that are 14, 21, 28 plus days, and they're still active. I know. In my heart of hearts, it's probably overpriced. So when this says, comparing to other homes on the market, it's like, yeah, I kind of take that with a grain of salt. When we look at, and that's the thing, when we look at. When we do comps, we do what's called 3-3. Ideally, you want to look at 3 actives, 3 pendings, and 3 sold, staggers, not equivalent to the subject properties. So, yeah, one of the metrics absolutely I'll be looking at on the actives is the days on market, how long it's been listed. Homes that are pending, when we look at those metrics, I will look at how many days it was active before it went pending. If I see something that's, pendings are nice because we don't know what it is sold for yet, but we know kind of based on when it went pending, how many days, like if something was 1 day on the market, pending, there's probably a good indication that it at least got asking price or above. Now sometimes I'll call the agent and be like, hey, can you? They don't have to disclose that at all, but based on the relationship, they might say, yeah, we had a ton of offers or really good traction. And then of course, solds.
Would you recommend doing that to the agent in the sense that if it goes back on the market, then you might have lost leverage?
Say
I
that.
don't know, just how-
No, you're fine. What was the question about?
So like, for example, like I'll list the agent and they disclose all that information, then it ends up going back, on the market. Now, I guess it depends what they shared with you, but
Yeah,
yeah, we probably didn't share the. You can't share the price until it closes, correct?
yes, unless explicitly the seller has given you, written permission. You're really not able to disclose the price, as a litigation. But some agents, man, it just,
Yeah,
which is, you know,
a good thing. And on the other
Yeah.
side.
I mean, I'll use, because our responsibility as a fiduciary is to our sellers, so like, I'll use anything I can, any information, any ammunition, to help, you know, win our case or devise a pricing strategy. I mean, since we have such a large team in Cincinnati, we'll have agents with different listings, and like, we'll be a little more lax about what, you know, if I see Evan list a property in a pending today, you know, he doesn't have to tell me, but he might, like, what the accepted price was, or what kind of offers or traction they had. If I'm getting ready to list property nearby, so. Again, agents don't have to tell you, but I think that's why I have a good relationship with other agents. Because it's a finite market, right? The chance of, you know, Jamie doing a transaction with Isabella in the same market at some time is probably gonna happen again. So I think always having a good cooperative spirit.
Yeah, I sold my first listing using, the buyer's agent was a girl.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, 100%. So top of page 92. Number 3 is understanding the window of opportunity. So the best chance to sell a home is when it first comes on the market. Sellers need to be clear on this. There's a window of opportunity that opens and closes quickly. First few weeks are make or break time for this listings. The price to reflect the market movement, number 4. So the market direction and the market speed and change. So this is basically, you know, was the market in an upswing, or is it kind of plateauing or in a downswing? And so we want to price, we really want to price ahead of that, right? You don't want to be, the last thing you want to do is chasing the market down, like catching the falling knife. That's a really bad place to be. Number 6, don't be afraid to be professionally honest. So pricing right is hard work, but it's worth it because it gets your sellers to their goals and you make money through business. Professional honesty is your best approach. So I've got a example. I took a listing, it was a condo complex, and there were 11 active condos in the complex. And I just was honest, and I said, you know, we need to price. Your presentation's great, but truly, like, to get this sold, we need to price below fair market value. I mean, there's just too much. The absorption rate was crazy. Like, it was, you know, for the most part, Cincinnati is kind of like a seller's market, flash balance market. This was like a key buyer's market. So, but I was honest. I'm like, I don't want to lie to you, and they were aware of it too. They knew the competition, but no, it worked out. I mean, they listened to my advice. We got a great offer. We closed smoothly. So it was a great process. So sellers need you to be open and honest with them. That's what they're hiring you for. Yeah, page 93. So these are a few different pricing strategies. Different factors that go into pricing. Touched on some of these. Yeah, not chasing the market down. The one of opportunity. I'm sure we, probably come on the market at first. See, 1 to 2 weeks is critical. Because then you're getting new waves of buyers that come to the market and like, is this on the market? Somebody like, why isn't this going in contracts? Yeah, any ahas or takeaways from service and marketing? Okay, 2:40, I'm yeah, 20 minutes left. No. Wow, I thought we were really good on time, but. This is a lot, like in a in a 3 hour course. So I'm gonna be moving pretty fast, so. Offers and negotiations, chapter 5. So goals, best practice for presenting offers, how to respond to offers. And how to negotiate effectively to create a win-win scenario. So on page 97. So for the offer, best practices, basically presenting all offers to the seller, not being judgmental, not assuming, right? We may think a seller would never accept, certainly they're not gonna accept this offer, but they could be okay with it. We never wanna assume, right? Say you're showing a property, you're like. That's why when I'm showing properties, I'm just, cause they could love that Pepto-Bismol wall, that paint color, right? To us, that may be hideous, but to them, it may be great. So like, we don't want to create scenarios where. We're creating doubt in the buyer's or seller's mind. So present all offers, writing. Make sure they contain all the things, right? Price, earns money, that payment, financing amount. Any conveyances and so forth. Multiple offers, page 98. I would have a system in place when you receive multiple offers, like when the seller is going to decide on the highest and best. Say you go live on Friday, get multiple offers, just say something like. Seller will be reviewing all offers Sunday at 6 p.m. With a decision to accept by Monday at 10 a.m. or however you word it. Page 99, mobile offers. This is essentially. When I deal with lowball offers. I try not to get the seller to just totally, I mean, if it's the only. If we have multiple offers, sure, we can reject it. But if we get a lowball offer and it's really the only offer we have, I do try to coach and guide the seller like, hey. And it depends based on how it is from the market or how low it is, but first I try to like calm down the seller. And then I try to find a median point for the buyer, like, hey, can you make this work at X? Your buyer get a great price, my seller loses shirt or however, you want to frame that, based on, what the offer is. But I would encourage you, there's 99 and 100. There's different dialogue and framework, how to like effectively present low offers, and then some counter offers. So page 101, responding to the offer. We've got 3 options: to accept, to counter, or reject. Accept, it's self-explanatory, just get everything signed, executed, sealed, delivered to all parties. Counter, same thing, just counters your strike throughs, your initials on the contract, with them over to the buyer's agent. And then reject outright, again, kind of a last case scenario, but if it's just too far, you can reject the offer as well. So I do like the bottom of page 102, the conversation framework with presenting a counter offer to the buyer's agent. To ideally get them into a middle ground with your seller. Page 103, we start to get into negotiating. So the mindset for negotiating is it's basically becoming detached and non-emotional because you're getting a buyer's agent who has an ego, probably sending something over. You're getting a seller who feels super insulted if I'll still be great offers and my seller would be, I'll have sellers that are just offended. So first, I think this page to me speaks back to not being judgmental, being a little detached, and then tying back to the motivation, right? So if someone needs to move and be close to the grandkids in Georgia, let's try to work with the offer. It may not be the best, but let's remind them of why they're selling in the first place. Page 104, this is a. They're both buyer agent and listing agent scenario. It's a role play exercise, so. Yeah, I would say reference this. I mean, there's so many great scripting role playing. Different frameworks in this course. It's called pick things up and start mastering them. Page 105, finalizing the contract. This is just making sure that all like the T's are crossed, I's are dotted and so forth. Addresses your correct dates, all the price changes, if any, are initial, things like contingencies. And all the signatures. Gene Rivers says you absolutely need to make sure you nail down whatever the parties will be there signing. He wants clarity. Okay, any questions, ahas, or major takeaways or key points from negotiating and offers? Ellen, going by kind of fast now. So chapter 6, contract to close. So we're gonna go over the contract to close flow, keeping the transactions together, seizing this golden opportunity in the contract to close ratios. On page 108. Step 6 of the 7 systems. The goal is to understand the contract to close flow, keep the transaction as smooth as possible and lead generate when you can. And this quote from Gary Keller. When it comes to bulletproofing the transaction, take heed, everything will go wrong approach. Assume everything will go wrong and come up with ways to possibly prevent them from happening or effectively deal with them in failure. Yeah, asks what people want contracts opposed to. I've seen easement issues, inspection issues is always a big one. Insurance has become a kind of pain lately. There's certain underwriting policies for insurance that like trim back. Branches over like just some crazy stuff, so. Knowing any contingency in the contract, just it can go wrong, appraisals, title issues. Buyers failing to get their funding, just, it can all go wrong. So on the top of page 110 right now, see the contract to close the flow. There's 5 components of that, which is clear title, loan underwritten and funded, closing disclosure, closing, and the recordation in possession. So one clear title, I mean, this really is going to be more so the responsibility of the title company, but it's to make sure that all of the encumbrances and liens have been cleared from the seller's property. 2, that the loan is underwritten and funded. This and number 3, closing disclosure. These 2 are going to be more so on the side of the lender. You as the listing agent, so I always call the lender, and just introduce myself, and they can't disclose a whole lot about the buyer's profile, but just how strong we are, all of the things. So just stay on top of the file.
Do you do that prior to accepting the offer to accept it?
Yeah, if I can, if
That way is the hard way.
yeah, I always try to, if I can, like, it just depends. I mean, if it's a Saturday night. Now the lenders I work with, they also are workaholics. So I mean, they would answer, but yeah, I mean, if it's like a lock mortgage, right, for a large institution. You just when you can, but yeah, ideally before you accept the offer. So that they can tell you discrepancies or anything that comes up, that the buyers are something about it. Like, pain in my butt is gift funds from mom or dad. I've had that burn me at least 2 times where we get like a week before closing and mom is like, I don't want to give the gift funds. And I didn't know that prior to, so now that's like always my first question. Is anyone else privy to the transaction? Mom, dad, uncle, Is anyone gonna be giving money? Ah, that is the worst. And then I get chewed out by my seller, and they're unhappy, it's a whole. You know, I gotta cry, and then my eyes get puffy, and I gotta put my ice mask, and it's just a whole mess. Let's see. Page 111, closing. This is just to make sure that I would add for this to review the Alta statement. So that's the most final credits and debits are, you know, from the seller and the buyer to the seller. Obviously, your commission amount, but make sure that's correct. But things like tax, you know, tax amount, if there's any discrepancies on insurance proration, all of those things. Just reviewing the Alta one last time. Because the seller and buyer may not know exactly what they're looking at, what we should be looking at. And then 5, recordation of in possession. So, just making sure if there's any post-closing agreement or arrangements, that you know, there's an addendum or it's everyone's privy to what's going on there. Which can get messy. Keep post-closings, occupancies. Page 112, keeping the transaction together. This is really just staying on top of all of both yours, your recommendation vendor partners, as well as, you know, the buyer who they're using for the inspections and appraisal and all that. You know, make sure they have access to the property, any documents from they need from you to get to them, and then just having checklists and lists. You know, all the disclosures. Home warranty initiation, transfer documents, things like that, basically all compliance in the paperwork for the transaction. You can earmark page 113 if you like. This is the contract close checklist, so this is kind of a hand reference guide for as well as timelines, like when these tasks should be initiated. So if you have a transaction coordinator, they ultimately should be, I would say, handling most of all of these things. But if not, this is a great reference. Page 114 sees the golden opportunity. Let's see. This is. This basically says to leave off, you know, you want to, because the whole point of 7 cycle seller system is to create, you know, repeat referral clients. So it's debated to leave a lasting impression for the seller, for the buyer, so that they'll have a great experience. Your seller, ideally, sellers, they'll probably get a sell in the next 7 to 9 years. I mean, historically, that's how often they transact. So, you know, you want them to think of you their next move. Contract to close ratios, page 116. Again, as you perform more in your transactions with sellers and buyers, you'll start to get more data. That you'll have in commands, like your opportunities. So some of these activities, like you'll know your numbers more. This kind of what this is, and where you fell off, and how much money, like number 4, right? How much more money would you have made if those contracts had closed? So it kind of ties the dollar amounts to lost opportunities. Any ahas, takeaways, points from.
Checklist was perfect for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, checklists is, I operate checklists and we lifeline.
I feel like I've seen a lot of checklists, but like there's a threshold, once you see intent, you understand.
Yeah.
Start to actually
Yeah.
understand.
One of those proposals. Okay, so the goal for post-close systems is to retain clients for life, follow with customers, and utilize such campaigns. On page 121. You know. The biggest thing is, what you don't want to do is. Stop talking to clients after you close them. I love, like, first time home buyers, I love, like, to me, that's now a seller in 17, like, how many years, so. This page to me speaks. If I could sum it up, anyone you close. Even out of state, if you guys say, like, you can set them up with agents, KW's the largest brokerage in the world, if you can set them up with agents out there, or just letting them know you still operate in Cincinnati, should they ever want to come back, or should they have family that wants to be in Cincinnati. If that relationship isn't. Yeah, they may not transact as frequently or. Or know as many people, but like, those are still possible sales. So yeah, keep in touch with them, not to just cut them off, I think you. Page 122. So if you go to the middle, ask for reviews and testimonials, a trick that we have used very effectively, if you want to start building your testimonials and the 5-star reviews, we call it the good news review. So if we're working with buyers and it could be at different points, like they immediately go under contract, that's good news, we'll send a review them. If they do the appraisal and it appraised $15,000 higher, we know they're going in with built-in equity, that might be a good news review, time to send out the lead. For our sellers, it's usually like if we get multiple offers, or we run our contract very fast, or we got a great offer, it could be then, or just at closing. Yeah, that's usually the best time, but try to do it before closing or at closing, because after that, it's like. The memories start to fade, it's not as much a priority, the emotions start to get more detached. To follow up with customers, page 123. What these two charts are, close to 70% of sellers say that use or recommend the listing agent. However, if you look down at the bottom chart, close to 40% actually don't recommend an agent. So. Yeah, this is why staying in front of your sellers, your buyers, is crucial, because people say they'll use their agent again, but I mean, this just shows that it really starts to drop off and not recommend an agent. So you want to create a great experience. I think that's what this whole class is about. Touch campaigns, these are just ideas for staying in touch with your clients in different media, different ways to do so. And different frequencies of all that. Some good ideas there. Yeah, let's go with that. So that system is short, and then we'll just finish with the conclusion. So you've learned that mindset, attitude, and your approach to life matter. Adopting a mindset and a philosophy is contributing to the lives of other people and deeply rooted belief in doing the best job possible for each and every customer will enable you to grow your business. So on page 130, and I just want to reiterate that, this is a cycle, it's not a list, so that purpose, the point of it is that so it's predictable, it's duplicatable, it's going to save you time and generate results that you can just literally keep repeating the process, getting leads, serving them, marketing, negotiating all the things, closing them, and generating new people for our business. You're just starting to cycle all of them. if you like to write on page 131, it basically has a letter, kind of write to yourself as a future listing agent. Ideally, what's your day, what's your life would like to look like? So if you want to add that to your homework in addition to some of the other activities, I inform you, probably with, a great use of your time. I love to write, something cathartic about writing. And then I'll just ask, what would be one thing that, kind of goes out with that? You'd like to walk away with, and you're gonna implement into your, listing business, much today, but. Did you want to go first, then?
Well, I think, some of the stuff I kind of talked about, or thought about, stuff throughout, but, not that this was not beneficial because it was.
Yeah.
Because it's reinstating what I've been reading in Millionaire Real Estate.
Sure.
And all of that, and I think I've been reminding myself since I'm at the beginning,
Mhm.
I'm building this business, I'm getting my name out there. To a lot of people who I am getting my name out there as of now, who I've met through like my spirit of Phillips.
Sure.
They may know me as I've been involved with theater my whole life, like I've taught theater classes. Like, so people just see me as that, but now I'm really trying to work in like, hey, not just that. And I have this huge network behind me that has all the resources we could ever need.
Yep.
And I think if I could get, getting them to understand or perceive, we have the resources for this and that's done.
Yeah.
So that's what I.
Okay. Okay. Perfect, I love that. So,
Definitely the checklist, and I'm so sorry, I actually appointed.
okay,
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
sure.
That's wonderful.
okay,
Yeah, that's was really good.
yeah, perfect.
We need to get better at, just pushing up with past clients,
Yep,
stay on top.
okay. Outline, past times, perfect. Well, cool. If I could ask one, so I am currently, I would say 2/3 of the way there, so I'm working on. The Tara, right? She's what's called master faculty. So a step below that is what's called a KWU approved trainer, which I'm about 2/3 of the way at. But I need evaluations. There's a certain amount of evaluations you need that the KWU's university faculty reviews. And so if you wouldn't mind, scanning the QR code, they'll just take you to leave an evaluation, and I can walk you through, there's some certain steps that go along with that.
Would it be worldwide or which one?
Oh, this would be, yeah, Ohio Valley. And I think I just got added, but Douglas Phillips for the instructor name. And this was Win with Sellers.
Sorry, what did you say your last name was?
Phillips, Douglas Phillips.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to do a full, like an actual 8 hour. Cause then I can go slower. We can do the role playing activities. It's hard to, take 8 hours.
Yeah.
A 3 hour course. So, yeah. Well, thank you guys, that's appreciated. And did Tara say, are you visiting, are you with the?
I am,
Okay.
it's being just kind of changing the program.
Sure, yeah, okay, wonderful. Yeah, Tara's, she's great.